What's harder, conquering a fear or figuring out what you're scared of in the first place? This is the exact question we face in the season finale of Rick and Morty season 7, titled Fear No Mort. And I'm going to use this episode as an example of how you can figure out what you're actually scared of. Like, actually scared of.
So you don't want to do it?
Do you?
I mean, it says it takes away your greatest fear.
If you're wondering why would I want to know what I'm scared of, this video is for the people who currently feel very numb in their life. If you feel like, not even that nothing scares you, but if you feel like you're lacking motivation or direction, everything is mundane, everything is the same, or if everything has been so overwhelming that you don't want to, like, you just want to come home, decompress, and like nothing, don't want to think, don't want to do anything, but still feel that like voice in the back of your head like, oh, my life is passing me by. Your best bet is to confront the things that you are not confronting. Because, I mean, you know what's on this side, let's just figure out what's on the other side.
Well, it's definitely a hole. They weren't lying about that.
Is that hair? Seaweed? Boy, it's really circling the whole rim, huh?
Guess you gotta jump in without touching the sides.
So we see Rick and Morty going through the same dilemma, where basically they've been on so many adventures, they've been through so much in their lives, they're not scared of anything anymore. They can't find any joy or amusement, nothing is fun, nothing is new, nothing is exciting anymore, and suddenly everything's very mundane. I think the reason it's fear-based rather than, you know, joy and experiences, adventures, is because in fear there's something challenging. In the unknown there's something new to get out of it.
Let me know when you want your check, and if you're here for the hole, it's in the men's bathroom.
The what now?
Hole?
The fear hole, men's bathroom.
And this hole is an amusement park ride, essentially, or it's just some sort of a ride where you go through the hole and the hole is going to show you your biggest fears. But the catch is, you might be scared of a lot of things. The hole is going to pick one thing that is your biggest fear, your biggest insecurity, your biggest anxiety. And if you can figure it out, and if you, not necessarily, not even like if you conquer it, but if you can figure it out, you have conquered the hole. If you decide that you are ready to face the hole, you are basically deciding, I am ready to face something abstract. I am ready to face something, it's the unknown, but abstract as in, I'm ready to face my depression. I'm ready to face my grief. I'm ready to face my loneliness. I'm ready to face, fill in the blank with whatever you need. But essentially, the reason I say it's abstract is because it's not that simple. Saying I'm going to face my depression doesn't mean that I'm just going to face 3 things that make me sad. It means I'm going to face the depth of everything. I'm going to face my past, my present, and my future. So once the rules of the game are established, Rick says he's not interested in the hole. And Morty kind of goes along and goes like, oh, I'm not interested either. Yeah, let's go. Who cares? They start walking out, and we see a scene of them walking out, and then Morty turning around and running back and jumping into the hole. And I think this is really important because that is the first decision you have to make. Am I going to jump in the hole?
My greatest fear, Morty, is trusting a gross hole to conquer my fear. And I conquer that fear by walking away.
Okay, fine.
You little turd!
Okay, so now you've jumped. What you are going to see next is the most surface level stuff of what you think your fears are. And I mean, like, really, you might even think it's deep. You might even think it's deeper than like, you know, like, oh, this must be the layer.
Still will I stop you with magic.
Layer 1 is surface level fears. It's not that it's not scary, it's terribly scary. It's very scary.
My butt back,
But it doesn't have any depth to it. And in fact, I would go a step further and say surface level fears are just distractions from what the real fear is. Surface level fears actually are disguised as perfect excuses for what the real fear actually is. So if you've got a fear of loneliness, surface level fear is, I'm scared to put myself out there, I'm scared to go on a dating app, I'm scared someone will reject me. Very basic, very simple fear that you can put forward. Doesn't answer the deeper question of what that actual fear is, i.e., maybe dying alone. But even what does that mean? But surface level fears are important because, again, we're talking about abstract fears, and you'll see later down the line, Morty was scared of something abstract, a very specific fear that he needed to figure out. The caveman brain can't just handle what fear of the abstract means. The caveman brain needs to know what fear means and what that instills inside of you when you're scared. So that's why when Morty falls in the hole, there are creatures that are coming after him. There is like someone ripping him open. There are so many like actual, barbaric, gross, crazy things happening to him the second he falls into the hole. And it's meant to terrify him. It's meant to terrify him so that he instills inside of his head that being scared of something or having a fear of something is a bad thing, is a scary thing. What that feeling means. He needs to understand that feeling. I'm gonna put 2 pictures of him. This is him in the hole, and this is him when he actually figures out what the hole was showing him, what his biggest fear was in the hole. You can see how mortified he is.
Dear God!
And as a little detail for the episode, I think he gave it away immediately when he was, and it's better in hindsight, but when you see he actually falls in the hole, and when he's scared, when all of these things are attacking him, he calls for Rick. And I think the second he calls for Rick and Rick jumps into the hole, that is the moment of like the hole knows, yeah, this is what this guy's fear is.
Thank you for visiting the fear hole, Morty. Your fear of relying on Rick has been delicious.
From our point of view, I would say it's important what your first instinct is. I'm not saying like who you would call out for, but what is your first instinct? What is the thing you recoil from, or the thing you call out for, or the thing you're hanging on to, or not letting go, any of it? What is the first instinct that comes when you start thinking about scary things? Morty experiences a version of Rick that is happy without him inside the hole. He sees a version of Rick that is happy, who has found Diane, who is actually his number 2, arguably his number 2, but his wife that he lost, and he's very happy being with her, and that is him at his, in a way that no one has ever seen him in the entire series, that this is the person he was meant to be with the whole time. But eventually Morty figures out that the hole is feeding off Rick's energy, and he wants to go on this journey to try to save him, to figure out what's going on, to really figure out what is this whole, like, how do you get out, how do you conquer this fear, what is going on? When he realizes there's more depth and more understanding that he needs to do, more soul searching, more work, more whatever you want to call it. So he goes and he finds the guy who originally led him to the hole in the first place.
It takes a very rare, very powerful being to be terrified of happiness.
Dumb!
You're dumb. That's why you're not scared to be happy. The smarter you are, the more you know. Happiness is a trap. It can't last forever.
And I think that guy represents a very nihilistic approach to life. An approach of no matter what, no matter how much, like, that guy explains to Morty that there's more to fear than just a fear of spiders, a fear of clowns, a fear of whatever it needs to be. There are deeper fears that are more, I think the way they put it is, so the whole feeds off your fears, right? So there are fears that are more delicious. The more depth, the better it tastes. So think of it like seasoning. If you season with just salt and pepper, fine, it'll taste good. But if you add more seasonings, more spices, more whatever, it's gonna taste better. So I think here you get to make another choice. Do you dig deeper and figure out what the actual fear is, or do you turn around and just live with the consequences of how everything is going to play out? If you dig deeper, then you've got to peel back a lot of layers. You've got to look at the ugly, the pathetic, the gross, the whatever it is that you are avoiding, you have to look it dead in the eye. Alternatively, you cannot look at it and let it grow and fester. Eventually, you will feel the consequences of what you've been ignoring. It's not a win-win situation, and we're not meant to see this as a win-win situation. Again, we're talking about fears. But in one instance, there's absolutely, it's gonna end badly, and in the other instance, it's gonna be very tough and difficult to look at, but the outcome is unknown, and an unknown outcome is better than 100% this is gonna be bad if you ignore it. Which is interesting, because he says, if you're dumb, you're happy. If you're dumb, you can be happy, ignorance is bliss, whatever you want to call it. But if you're smart, you do have to look it in the face. I think just by acknowledging the whole, you can never turn back, if that makes sense. I think, whether you jump or not, it's not as simple as smart people are inherently going to always suffer and not be happy because they're too smart for their own good, and dumb people are oblivious and therefore they're happy because they're too dumb to figure out their circumstances. Because give people some credit, give people a fighting chance, give people the benefit of the doubt. Not everyone's had the same upbringing, not everyone's had the same opportunities, but everyone can learn and change and grow. But if you write people off, on either side, if you write people off, all you're doing is creating another problem. And some people just look at the whole, realize it's there, and also realize they don't have the tools or the equipment to deal with it in that specific moment. Their time will come. This conversation triggers a loop for Morty, where basically he goes now on a rampage to figure out what his fears are. He does stuff like where he'll eat a spider, he'll do public speaking, he'll do humiliation rituals, he'll do whatever it takes to figure out what his fear is. And he's doing really scary stuff. And as he's doing it, even if he's doing it in the hole, it feels as terrifying as you think. And this is exposure therapy or rejection therapy or whatever you want to call it. I think it's called both of them. I'm not entirely sure. It is true every time you introduce your brain to something new, a new experience, a new exposure, even if something is really terrifying, it becomes a part of your arsenal. So now you can go and do that 10 times over because okay, I've done this once. It's easy to go talk to someone in the club if you've done it once. If you've done it once, the first time is really scary. 10 time, okay, I've done this 9 times before. 100 times, I'm used to rejection at this point. 1,000 times, maybe I'm the problem. The example the whole guy gives to Morty is, imagine you find the love of your life, it's still gonna end. Best case scenario, you both die together at the same time.
Let's say you meet the love of your life. Well, it's still gonna end. It's inevitable. Happiness always ends. Best case scenario, think about this. Best case is that you die at the same time.
It makes you think about that worldview, and that worldview basically says there's no point indulging in any sort of happiness, any sort of relationship, any sort of anything, because everything is going to come to an end. And you have to question, like, is there a point to put myself out there, put myself on the line if it's going to end one day? So one day I am going to feel a deep sadness about something that makes me really happy right now. Is my happiness worth it if one day it's gonna cause me unbearable grief? If you ask me, yes. But you're not asking me, you have to ask yourself. Morty putting himself through this rejection therapy or this fear-based exposure is one method to go about figuring what you're scared of, or really pushing the boundaries of what you actually are scared of. Eventually, Morty figures out what his fear is.
I'm afraid that if I jumped into a hole, you wouldn't even bother jumping in after me. You'd just stand there and watch. This entire thing has been about me. You're not even in the hole, are you?
And his fear is if he jumped into a hole, Rick wouldn't chase after him. That he is inherently replaceable. And when he's in the hole, he feels he's a burden to Rick. He sees many instances where Rick would be happier without him. He sees so many things, and this I think is really interesting because we have evidence that Rick would jump into a hole to save Morty. There was an episode where, if you go back, it was the Schrodinger's cat episode where Morty fell, so their whole reality got split into like 64 parts, and one Morty fell through a hole and Rick went after him and chose Morty over himself.
Rick! Morty!
What the hell? What have you done to me, Morty?
Be good, Morty. Be better than me.
And I think this is really important because once it was over, the whole episode was over, that Morty said, oh, I feel a very small part of me, 1/64th part of him, felt like a Rick sacrificed himself for me. But he didn't know, because there were so many different realities and so many different memories in his head, he didn't know if that was a reality. So it was just a feeling, inclination, gut feeling, whatever. And Rick said, don't think about it, just whatever, like waved it off. But we have proof that he would do that. However, the whole is Morty's fear. So whatever Morty believes gets amplified. The same way, if you have a fear of something, your brain will look for evidence for whether to prove to you that that's correct. Genuinely, your brain will prove to you that's correct. That maybe I'm the problem is what we're looking for. We're trying to get to that specific point, because that's where you start peeling the ugly layer of, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean that I'm the problem? What am I actually scared of? Am I scared of, why am I looking in the wrong place? Why am I choosing the wrong person? What am I distracting myself? Am I not distracting myself? Am I just scared of dying alone? Is the truth that I actually do want to be alone, but I feel pressure to be with someone when I want to be by myself? Am I scared of my sexuality? Am I scared of, what is it? This is one element. There are many elements. Again, remember, the whole is abstract. So is Morty better off now that he's confronted the reality, or he's confronted the fear that he needs Rick and Rick might not need him?
It really is fine. Huh.
You do seem a little less burdened.
Am I irreplaceable?
I mean, define irreplaceable.
That's good. Good.
I think Morty is better off now that he's confronted this fear. Because, I mean, the second he comes out, Rick does say, you look less burdened. Which is like, a problem acknowledged is a problem half. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't understand what you don't acknowledge. You've got to acknowledge it first, right? But also, you see him moving towards, you see him moving a step in the right direction. You see him moving a step into being independent. You see him, or even if you don't see it, you know that's what's going to happen. Morty now has the ability to be more independent. He hugs Rick, and when Rick goes to hug him back, he immediately steps back and says, don't hug me. Nothing needs to change between us, because then I won't know if I'm still in the hole. But I can live the rest of my life in this situation with the anxiety, with the fear, with the understanding I might be in the hole, I might not be in the hole. The hole exists. The abstract doesn't go away. You don't cure, you don't cure these fears just by looking them straight in the eye, but you do gain some distance from them. The episode ends really sweetly, where the same way Morty ran back and jumped in the hole, we see a scene where Rick jumps back, but he stops right in front of the hole, and instead of jumping in, he pulls a picture out of his wallet of Morty and he puts it on the board. And I think that picture is really sweet because it's got the creases in it, which means he keeps a picture of Morty, his grandson, in his wallet at all times, and now he's put it there. Morty's biggest fear is being ignored by Rick and not being important to Rick, and in that moment we see just how much Rick cares and just how much Rick acknowledged him and even gave him his flowers. I hope I've made sense. Whether you're scared of spiders, clowns, or death, this is a great episode. This is where Rick and Morty may have fallen off for a while. This really picked up. This episode was something else entirely, and that's why it's one of the top-rated episodes in the series. I really implore you to watch it if you haven't. And if you watched it, rewatch it, because I had a lot of fun rewatching it for this. And I'm going to do another video on season 9 at some point, because season 9 is going great. I really, really like it. And that definitely, it feels like old Rick and Morty again, and it is just amazing. Let me know what you want to hear about next, and thank you so much for helping me hit 1,600 subscribers.
What is that?
Morty and I shit our pants. You're looking at the 2 newest members of the whole club.
Okay.